All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Blockbuster Brothers. Today we are talking about Amazon Prime's new movie, Heads of State, starring Idris Elba and John Cena. Steven, you get a chance to check it out. What'd you think?
I did. Yes, we both watched it. These two had previously appeared together in The Suicide Squad, one of my least favorite movies of that year, no doubt. This film was directed by a guy named Ilya. I'm not going to butcher. His first name's Ilya. Last name starts with an N. Let's leave it at that. But he also directed the movie called Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk in 2021.
Oh, that one's pretty good.
Okay, so I haven't seen that, and the IMDb ratings, they can be all over the place sometimes, but usually is somewhat of a good indicator, and that got pretty high reviews. So, I felt like this movie was paid for by the government, almost. Like and by the way, that's like a legitimate thing. Like
Oh yeah.
The United States government has been involved in somewhat with filmmaking since I think the mid 30s. So that's not something that's abnormal, but certainly the opening was like, oh my God. Okay. Oh, guess what nationality the bad guy is? Russian, right? They mentioned NATO, clean energy, England and America working together. Now, despite being it a little bit where I felt like they were kind of pushing stuff on me, I did feel like as soon as, spoiler alert, the plane crashes in the beginning and they kind of are now alone together in order to kind of survive and get back to the States and England respectively. I thought it picked up a little bit. I thought there were some moments that I liked. I actually thought the camera work and composition was pretty solid. But overall, I was very unhappy. I didn't really like it.
Yeah, and I think this is another Amazon just can't figure out the movies. They've got a little bit of Apple TV syndrome where they're just not delivering on the movies. Not to say that this movie wasn't fun. I think Idris and John, I got to give it to John. With The Rock, I don't really like him too much. I think he's serviceable, but there's something about John Cena. There's a little like personality. I think he's just like got a little less ego to him. Maybe he's not like, he doesn't take himself as seriously, and he's a little bit more of a lighter touch. Where I'm like, even with like I actually really like Peacemaker. So like John Cena always kind of surprised me, with how much I end up finding like I'm drawn to his characters a little bit. And Idris, I mean, we don't have to go on about Idris. So I think that keeps, even though I felt like I would say that this movie wasn't great, it still was a fun watch in a weird way. And I think those two, there's something there between them. I think it was a miss overall, but I think, again, this is an example of stars helping you out, where in the past we were like, okay, it's the cameos kind of hurt it. Without Idris and John, I think this would have been a huge mess. So I think that it's definitely redeemable. I wouldn't say it's not worth watching. But don't expect it to be, this perfect movie. It's a fun, simple watch, and I think it's worth checking out, especially if you like Idris Elba or John Cena. I think, it's not, it could have been worse. It could have been a lot worse. I'll say that.
Absolutely. And Brian's right. I should clarify, like I didn't like it, but I also didn't hate it. I was somewhere in the middle. Where I was like, okay, and like there were a couple moments that I thought were really funny, including when they're hiding in the back of this truck with all of these sheep and John Cena's face is just pressed against the bed of the truck, the bed of the back of the truck, and the udders of the goats are just like, or the sheep are just rubbing all over his face and he can't move because they don't want to get caught. Like there were some moments, and I think actually, Brian, you've hit on something. Maybe we're late to it. Maybe studio executives know this already, but John Cena has an ability to be tough and to also make fun of himself.
Yeah.
And that's a really nice blend of, oh, okay, kind of like Arnold a little bit in the 90s and 80s with certain movies. But yeah, it's a fun watch. Apparently the box office budget, again, of course, we don't have the exacts yet. And we've talked about this I don't know why this has become like more of a norm where we just like kind of don't know, but based on the estimates, it's likely to be somewhere between 50 and 100 million. So I think that it'll get a lot of views. Brian's right. It is fun. It's certainly not Anchorman, not even close, but I think it's, yeah, wouldn't say it's not worth watching. So give it a try.